Welcome back, Western Civ. This is our third flipped lesson, and today we're talking all about the Peloponnesian War. Now remember, that's the war between Athens and Sparta and their allies. So this is going to range from 431 BC to 404 BC. Now the causes. Many Greek cities hated Athens. They resented their domination of the Delian League. Athens, remember, was taking dues and using it for their own city. They were telling people they could and couldn't trade with certain people. Very, very upsetting to a lot of the Greek city-states. Some of them were even going to revolt against Athens. Now, Sparta and Athens were longtime rivals. Remember, they're two very polar opposites from one another. Sparta was all about war. Athens was all about intelligence and government. Sparta, though, is going to start this thing called the Peloponnesian League. We talked about that today when we played Fly Swatter. They're going to do this just to oppose the Delian League. Now, economics are going to start this entire war. Athens stopped stopped Corinth, one of Sparta's allies, from taking over another city-state, and they laid siege to their entire colony. Athens also is then going to slap Megara, which is another trade of Sparta's, with trade sanctions. They're going to tell them they can't trade with any with any allies of Athens, which is going to be a death blow to their economy. Corinth and Megara, though, are going to convince Sparta to go to war with Athens, completely starting the Peloponnesian War. Now remember, Athens' strategy is they're a naval power. They believe that they are the most dominant people in the water. Their idea was to surround Sparta by the sea and to prevent food and supplies from coming in and reaching the Peloponnesian League. Now, Sparta's strategy, they had the strongest army. They were the dominant ones on the land. They surround Athens and tried to prevent it from raising food around their own city. Now remember, Pericles built these giant walls around Athens, so this would have been very easy for them to do. They did not have a navy until the very end of the war, Sparta anyway. Here you can see a map of the entire Peloponnesian War. A lot of it was fought in the outskirts of Athens as well as the Delian League allies, and then many other Spartan campaigns are going to take place on Peloponnese. Whoa, went too far. There we go. Now, a stalemate is going to occur during this war. A stalemate is when neither side is really winning an advantage. For much of the war, no one could get the upper hand because Athens had the navy, Sparta had the army. Now, with a few short periods of peace in between, this war is going to last for 27 years. That's older than Mr. Terry. However, big death blow for Athens stinks to be y'all. Athens was severely weakened when a plague broke out, and it killed 1 out of every 3 of their population, including Pericles, who was Athens' able-bodied leader. The Syracuse expedition is also going to happen. The Athenians made a huge mistake in 416 BC. They invaded Sicily to conquer Sparta's ally, Syracuse. Guess who convinced Athens to go and invade Syracuse? He thought that it would win the war for them and that they could easily do it. Socrates convinced them to go. We'll talk about the aftermath of that tomorrow and kind of what happened to Socrates after this entire war was over. Now, they hoped to destroy Sparta's food supply in Syracuse, but they were surrounded and annihilated by the Spartans. Sparta is then going to win the war by doing one of the most dirty things in all of history. If you were Sparta and you had to get naval boats from someone, who do you think they would be the last person they would call to borrow boats from? That's right. They allied with Persia. Persia sent them ships and supplies as Ionia was revolting against Athens and the Delian League. Ionia, the very colony that Athens saved in the very first Persian War, revolted against them. And then Spartans pulled in Athens and borrowed boats and vessels from the Persians to destroy Athens with. The war is going to end when the Syracuse weakened the Athenians, but actually Athens held on for about 10 more years. But the Spartans finally conquered Athens in 404 BC. Athens had to give up its navy and its entire Delian League empire, and then Athens had to follow Spartan foreign policy. The aftermath, though, is that Athens was the strongest, now Sparta was. Much of Greece lay in ruin. Greece was severely weakened economically and militarily, and Greek culture is going to slow down. This is going to leave room for our man Alexander the Great to come in and create his Hellenistic period. So this is the end of the classical phase of Greece. We'll talk about the Hellenistic period tomorrow with Alexander the Great. Look forward to seeing y'all then. I'm checking these notes.